to the wisdom flow. Revenue ramp, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go.
Welcome to SaaS Stories with Revrag. Today we have Aniketh Chan with us. Aniketh co-founded Solutions Infini, which later became Kalera, a global leader in CPaaS, scaling it into multiple $1 million business and taking it public. Now he is building his next big venture, Fyno, and which is now changing how businesses manage customer communications. Aniket, thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Can you please, for the audience sake, if you can give a little intro about yourself, it would be nice and easy.
No, sure. Thanks, Ashutosh, for having me. And I remember having those chai point conversations with you. So we spent some time being in the past. So there's a context to that.
Yeah.
Right. So to give a bit background, look, I bootstrapped my first company back in college, I would say. Straight out of college, started a company called Solutions Infini. We started as a service company in the beginning. Realized the value of service in India is very low. Customers, when they pay you for a service, they think that there's endless hours that you have to spend and deliver the service. There's no like a time bound.
Absolutely.
Therefore, at some point in 2 years of our operations, in early 2 years, we realized that the revenue what we're generating versus what we are managing our expense was not breaking even. So we were like losing money, and we had to figure out something else, and we had to find some other opportunity. And one such opportunity sort of triggered is that messaging as a service, which is SMS as a service, ventured into that business. So my context is that bootstrap, got into from college, from a service to a messaging company. But just to give you a little background about my personal background, I've done my computer application graduation in Bangalore. I have lived and born and brought up all my life in Bangalore. My family and Ashish both are my other co-founder family. Both families were a traditional business family background. I personally come from a business family background. My grandfather started a shop in Bangalore, and I used to go to that shop and did a lot of learning there. In hindsight, I can tell you that it was a lot of learning. So that is my upbringing. Was 15 years ago, middle class background, any aspiring middle class background which wants to grow and make more money in life. So I come from that context. So that's the background about me. And obviously, building solutions was a 13 years of journey altogether. Started in 2009.
Thank you so much for that, Aniket. It sounds very easy, but it's not. I think the way that you told, like building a bootstrap company for 13 years and then got it acquired, it sounds really easy. But I think you have spent your time there. 13 years is not a small time for a person to pursue a bootstrap company. Luckily, I think, as you were saying, hindsight, if you see, I think going to your father's or grandfather's shop kind of helped you in becoming that kind of a founder, right? I think bootstrapping is something that you might have learned from your father and forefathers, right? I think, that's amazing, actually. So, like while you were actually bootstrapping Solutions Infini, right after a college, so were you from day one, you decided that, okay, you want to pursue entrepreneurships at a young age, or it was just a serendipity that happened?
No, so it was a moment that happened. Honestly, my personal original thought was never to become a run my own, because I could not visualize myself doing something on my own, especially in a technology space. That's given my background. And I come from this physical business traditional model. So I could only relate that I can run on my own is those kind of business model, which is like traditional brick and mortar shops.
Right.
Thanks to Ashish, who's my other co-founder. Actually, he sort of came up with this idea on saying, I don't want to work for anybody, I'll work for myself. That was his first few words that he started to tell after college, because
Nice.
A is that I got placed in campus. Ashish did not get placed in campus because he did not qualify for that minimum marks. You need like 60% to qualify. But he was great at coding. He would put teachers into like trouble because he knew better coding than the teacher what would. Like teacher probably knew two styles of coding, two approaches to a same code, but he could probably get 10 approaches to a code.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So he started with that note. He was more confident about this idea. And I was more of an accident because I was working with him on the same project. Now, what happened in that in college, you have a team. The team has to deliver a college project, which is like a live demo of a product itself, like which would have front end, back end, and you have to demonstrate that capability. And I was part of Ashish's team. Me and him obviously divided our responsibility. First approach was to like anybody else in college, copy from your seniors whatever they have built the product previous year products. Just copy and repurpose that and demonstrate that. But Ashish came up with this saying, no, I'm going to build this from scratch. I'm not going to copy anybody. I'm going to create my own. So obviously, when you create your own, it takes a lot of time. You're obviously crunch for resources. You have to deliver in 3 months. You only have like that time frame. So great. What he did was that divided both of our responsibility, where he was coding, I was making presentation, user interface, product documentation, all of those things. That was my responsibility. And I think that bonding really gelled well. And post college, he was sort of clear that he wants to do something of his own. I was with him, just hanging out with him, just chilling, doing one-hour freelancing stuff with him. And finally, it came a point that, we started spending a lot of time post-college, 6 months together, because I was jobless. He was just doing some projects, getting some money, like a pocket money. And one fine day, like a trigger came that Ashi said, why don't we like create a company and work together and do this at a scale? So that's how I think
So did you go back to your parents and ask, I'm starting a company, should I start it or not? Like how was it?
Oh yeah, this whole idea of me going back and telling I'm going to start my own business. Firstly, they were shocked and the way I was talking, because I'm like nobody. I'm just a college student, pass out. How am I thinking of taking such big risk? It needs money. So they were also clueless of what I'm going to do, like what business I'm going to do. So what I'm going to sell, what I'm going to make profit. Bit of a hard to convince them in the beginning. It took a while. It took like series of conversation to get some money from them. Obviously, I needed some family and friends to raise some family. So I went back and forth with my family. Then I broke it down. I said, okay, you give me this much. 50% you give me, I 50% I'll arrange. I went to some of my uncles and got it from him. So that's how I started, like with a small money, which is like 4 lakh rupees roughly. I started this business. So Ashish already has a small office from his family. So he told me just bring in 4 lakhs and we can just start this business together. And that's how it happened.
Awesome, man. I think this is great. Thanks to Ashish. We have a great entrepreneur in place. So, in your early days, Aniketh, like there are a lot of challenges. So different level has different challenges, right? In entrepreneurship, I think early challenges actually are very crucial and very important to basically building the hardship for a founder, right? So any challenges specifically that you remember of that time, right? And anything you want to say to aspiring entrepreneurs, founders that are actually going through or might be going through it right now?
I can and related to few. Look, we were in a business is that today's founders have a lot more vision. If they know what's going to be future for next 5-10 years. Honestly, when we started out, we didn't know what vision is, right? A lot of things that happened very, I would say, but a little bit of luck and timing in the business of starting up a company. I think timing, ecosystem like economy, like Indian economy doing well with mega triggers. Plus, we were trying to build this business. Plus, also a little bit of hustle mind to grow and grow. I'll give you one of the challenges, right? Initially we started as we didn't have our own product, so we were selling somebody else's product. This is a messaging product that we were trying to sell. At some point we realized that we are not getting enough customer support that we expected. So we were giving it to our customers was coming back and threatening us like, why are your messages not getting delivered? We had to go back to our supplier and he was not responding. And at some point it made us that I can build this own app. I can build the same application. I can build it better than them. I can do better service and customer support. I think that was the first trigger point. So owning your own tech stack, a lot of that journey, that was the first challenge that we went to, where when we built the first stack of our own in 2-3 days of prototyping, we sold it to one customer. And in the
Amazing.
first customer that came, what happened was that it went into the loop was not closed. So the same SMS went like 20 times to the same customer across 5,000.
Oh,
Right? We got bombarded and we had to like pull down the platform and all of that. So that was the first like beating on our own, on our own confidence that we had said, I can build on my own, and and then you get shot down on the first day itself, right? But nevertheless, thanks to mistakes obviously happened, and we also like corrected that and started again and went back and tried again, and it worked well. The second point failure was the learning was that big risk comes with big reward.
you're right.
And after being in this business for 2-3 years, we realized that now if you have to move up the value chain, you're owning the technology, but you don't own the network. So we were not working with the network partner directly. So we had to go and we have to ensure that now to scale this business, you have to have direct network access, which is like mobile telcos access. To get telco access, you need minimum upfront payment because you need to give them a fixed commitment, volume, business, and money upfront. And we took that as well. Also, it was a big risk. We didn't know what outcome it would have. We knew that yes, we can definitely make money, but I think that jump helped us to that was also a turning point in our career, because then the company just took off because the company which was doing like few lakhs suddenly started touching in like crores of revenue quickly because suddenly we started owning the tech piece of our own, which is fully managed and deployed and serviced by us, and also the network operator, which was directly connected to us. And we had a lot of flexibility and ability to deliver the service to a customer.
And you were doing the sales, right? I think you were responsible
Yeah.
for sales and other
So I was
GTM.
looking at business, I was looking at customer, new acquisition, retention, finance, I was looking at marketing. These were my responsibility.
How was it like the 13, 14 years ago? I think now 15 years ago, right? So you have you started Fyno close like 2 to 3 years.
Fyno has been 2.5 years journey.
Yeah.
If you ask me, 13, 14 years of journey, 15 years of journey totally. Look, the first one was a lot of activity that went, like one of the activity was it's not that we were proud of Bootstrap, or actually didn't know even the word Bootstrap exists.
Yeah.
Then people were asked, always when you start a business, in my mind was that you have to put your own money. I was exposed to only that kind of a world. I come from that environment where you only put your own money and you start your business.
Absolutely.
Much later in 2013, we were rejected actually by VCs, 9 VCs. There was about 7-8 VCs in Bangalore.
Yeah.
We went after all of them VCs saying, okay, we want to raise money. And all of them rejected, saying the market is small, the TAM is smaller, bigger, whatever, etc. Those kind of reasons that they gave us. And that was one of the reasons why we were bootstrapped for 13 years successfully. I'm glad that we were bootstrapped. The other thing that happened was for the growth for our product was in 13 years of, and like you asked, right, 13, 14 years of just going to every day, showing up at work, just making sure that doing every day some improvement from 1 month to next month, quarter to quarter,
Yep.
year on year. Just doing that basic, just focusing on those fundamentals, right? Not getting distracted by anything else. Obviously, in the beginning, got distracted by the VC, but that whole ecosystem and the bubble and hearing to news got carried away that, okay, we should also raise money. Finally, in a good way, it actually helped us not raise money and, own the entire company by ourselves. Build the business, scaled the business to multiple markets. Straight from Bangalore, we moved to Hyderabad, Bombay, Bangalore. We moved because there was a better opportunity there. The customer base, so you have to be more closer to the customer. We used to have this fleet on street sales model. Work from home concept was introduced by us much earlier because we didn't have money. So what we would only afford is to hire a guy with a laptop, and you tell him you work from your home. If you get a meeting, you have to just go and show up with the meeting. Right. So I think these were some experience of having to build this company like this form. Organically, it happened bootstrap. So from a $10 million revenue to hitting to $15 million in revenue to 20. It kept on growing because of two things. I think A is that demonetization happened in 2017 that actually ramped up the volumes of digital communication in India. Before that, there was also a regulatory challenge that came up. The price of an SMS was very low, and regulatory then came up with a concept called increase the price of communication in 2014 by 20x. A company which was doing suddenly like few lakhs while while we lost a lot of business, but if you look at the revenue, we started booking a lot of bigger revenue. So it actually helped us to look at the big picture, and very organically our vision sort of evolved in 13, 14 years. So yeah, in 2018, I was going to Mobile World Congress and I met this gentleman, Dario, who was also building similar business in Italy. At some point he said, "Hey, what are you guys looking next?" And it very happened, like we want to do IPO for our company. And he said, "Great, even I want to do IPO. Why don't we do it together?" And that's how the conversation sort of built up. And he came to India, visited us, spent some time in India. He loved India as a country because India was growing. India was doing really well at that point, right? Between 2016, 17, between that phase. And then he proposed saying, "Why don't we do it together?" So yeah, the acquisition sort of, we structured this whole deal where we had to like figure out what could be the structure. The structure was simple. We had to like come up with like strategic investment in the first phase where they acquire significant majority, and then and over the next 2-3 years they acquire rest of the equity and consolidate into one organization.
Makes sense. Great,
Yeah.
great
I'm
insights.
actually telling you a lot, but you can pitch in between and ask me any questions if you have.
No, I think I was just into it. I was hearing.
Yeah.
And so one question while you were explaining about the 13 years, right? So
Yeah.
when you look at from hindsight, right, what were the 2 to 3 major turning points for you in that journey that led to you actually succeed? One was, I think you already explained, was I think building your own tech, right? Any other decision?
Look, I think pivoting, right? I think from a service to a product itself is a lot of, I see a lot of SaaS founders today, a lot of SaaS companies. I mean, a lot of companies that are building in India service based, and then they also want to move to a product based company for various reasons, right? Because of its own challenges. I think pivoting at the right time was very important, and I think we did. That was a big turning point, I would say. Otherwise, we would have not been what we were, because service would have definitely at some point would have delayed our killing, but we would have died by that. Right? Glad that we pivoted. By the pivoting was very painful. One of the biggest, when you pivot, right? What do you do with your customers who have signed up with you?
Makes
What do you
sense.
do to them? So we had to surrender. We had taken some advances and deposits for their product. So we had to return that money, saying we can't help you in the future. We don't want to do this anymore. While we were transparent, and it was a more bold call that we took, and we returned few lakhs of money because we didn't want to do that kind of a business where it would take so much of time and bandwidth, and realize that the value is zero, right? Thanks to pivot happened, and great that we scaled from there. And then we only grew like multifold from that. So that was a big learning, that pivoting is important. Most founders which are building service, changing to product based to a software based offering can be very, very, I would say they will be in a dilemma to what to do. And sometimes they've seen that they run both the organizations, service and product, and
Yeah.
there's no
I
focus,
know a
right?
lot of people. I know a lot of people. Yeah.
A lot of people, and we come across, and India is a great market, and you'll see many companies like that which are stuck in between building service, but aspiration is to build product, and they're not able to take that bet for various reasons, right? Because of commitment, employees, resource, staff. I'm glad that we were very small. It was little easier, but it was hard. It was also very hard to return the money back, obviously, all of that. But I'm glad that we pivoted, and that helped. That was the one big turning point. The other turning point was that we were only like from a market. We were, so look, when you're a first time founder, the problem is that you're not exposed to like the scale metrics in general. I didn't know the word called scale growth. So the other big change that happened, turning point, was that we expanded ourselves into different markets. So we expanded our feet on street, our reachability in multiple cities, being present in Chennai, being present in Hyderabad, being accessible in Bombay, Delhi, because eventually the customers that we were dealing with, all these were from these, like Bangalore is a good enough market, but the bigger markets are Bombay, Delhi, and all of those, right? So we had to make our presence felt and be there. And we had to build a team there from scratch. So I think having that national presence helped us to scale even more significantly. At one point, I remember we were doing like 55 crores in revenue. We jumped to like 70 crores in revenue in just 1 year, thanks to this whole distribution model that we created. We're expanding in different cities.
Awesome. So we'll switch gears now.
Yes.
And we'll go into the ride of your, like, while you were at Kalera, have been acquired or merged, whatever you want to call it, or like you can explain that, right? So how was it for you? Because you earlier you were running your own ship and now you've been acquired or you have been merged to a entity. So how was the transition for you? And was it like, did you took it initially? I want to know, like from the founder's perspective, right? Was it positive for you or was it a little negative for you in the start? And how did you manage?
The first few emotions are like, why do you want to do this? You built this company with so much difficulty. Why would you do? What would people think? What would employees think? Very, very brutal. I mean, negative thoughts, right? I mean, these were some thoughts. On the contrary, other thoughts were like, okay, hey, you've built a great business model, but problem with this one is how do you generate outcome? Like, where is this end goal for employees? Where is the end goal for founders? What is this? How do I give people have put in 7, 8, 10 years of their life, and how do I generate an outcome for them? An outcome for me personally, because I straight out of college, never took a break, joined this, right? It started this, right? So there was these thoughts were running, obviously, at some point. And at some point, I think one of the things that's why the beauty of having a co-founder really helps, right? To brainstorm and me and Ashi sitting in a room deciding to what to do next. Why do we really need to sell? If we have to sell, then it's a path that once you take that path, then you have to be committed to that path. If you've decided to merge or invest, merge or strategic invest, whatever you call it, right? It's a path. Then you can't. It is not good on our part to withdraw it at any point in time. If you're going that path, let's be clear.
Right.
And it was hard. It took us multiple rounds of conversation. It took multiple rounds of debating on why. Obviously, we are questioning our own self. We are doubting our own self at some point. And also, like, we had to look at market. The market was actually squeezing us on margin. Business was like pressing too much on the margins. And we said, okay, I think if somebody gives us an X value, if somebody can value this business at a future valuation and give us the money today, I think it's a great deal. And let's go ahead. So that was the initial thought. Very hard again. And again, in that journey also, like, it took a lot of back and forth of communication. So we had to travel to Italy, spend time with them. They had to come to India, meet compliance. That takes a good 6 months. Given that we were a business which had a regulatory angle, in the sense we had a license, telecom, few licenses that we operate on. And those licenses need some approval, special approval. So if somebody has to invest outside from India, needs to like go through this approval route, all of that. It became a bit complicated. Patience, and even on the last signing day, also you are doubting whether should I sign or not. On like after you've going through that phase, right? Are you still doing the right decision or not, right? On finally that. So I think founders go through that emotion throughout the career. And in fact, even today, I actually like keep thinking about it. Why did I sell? I should have not sold. I should not done this. I should have like a lot of change in plans that I keep thinking about. But that happens to everybody.
No, I think you're right. It's your baby and you build it. You've spent a lot of time there, right? So
Yeah.
it's like kind of it's your day to day. So
Yeah.
selling something to
Yeah.
someone.
Being jobless, being out of like a lot of shocks happened, right? And you being an entrepreneur running this on your own, one day
Yeah.
you have suddenly your roles are confined.
Yep.
Because this organization scales and then you have to like report to somebody else.
Yep.
Then you have restrictions on.
Mm,
Earlier, I had the full freedom to try and experiment whatever I could, or I could make any changes in the policy. But now you have to be mindful because there's a strategic or who's invested in business. So all those changes the gear, and glad that we were able to manage that for about 3-4 years post. They also invested the first round. We continued to work with them for 3-4 years because it really worked well as an energy and the vibe, because also India was growing. I was able to
right.
demonstrate the results. In terms of legal, I think we didn't have any legal challenge. I'll tell you where the legal challenge happens. If there's a contract that is saying you will do X, 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 and then you define a rule saying you'll deliver X on so and so time this year, you will deliver X plus this year and this. And if you start deviating that's where legal sort of the biggest problem
Problem
comes when you
happens.
don't
Yeah.
deliver your numbers. In our case, we were glad that we had actually benchmarked our numbers very carefully. In fact, we always believed as a company, both of us are like, we under demonstrate ourselves and over deliver. So that actually works.
Nice.
Come dikhao, if you have a bigger outcome, great, but demonstrate yourself like a little bit less, and that helped.
Makes sense.
The journey was bit of a longer, bit of a challenging in terms of legal compliance and all those angles. Patience was the key. We had to be patient. They had to be patient enough to like invest in India. And it was not a VC, so it was more like a strategic, right? So
You both were actually trying to try it. I think, yeah,
Trying
that's
it, yeah.
a very valid point,
Yeah.
because if there have been a VC, the story would have been a little
been different. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you get acquired, right? And as you were saying, there are things that change. So you've seen one outcome, right? Now, I've seen a lot of acquisitions going down, right? As in
Yeah.
not performing, that acquirer is not getting the value from the acquisition that they have done. But for you, it was a successful acquisition, right? And at the same time, the dream every founders have is to go IPO, and you were able to basically see that path as well, see that journey. So how was it for you, right? Was it when you were getting IPO'd, was it something that you thought of, "Ki, if I am getting in a ship with them, I will be going IPO. I'm fast tracking my journey actually with them." So what were your thoughts on that piece?
So for sure, I think this was obviously with this collaboration, the advantages were many, and they were fast track, fast go to market, global. We were India, Middle East business operations solution with me. With this collaboration, we will get exposure to global world. We'll start selling in US, we'll start selling in Europe and all of those, right? So global exposure for sure, that happened. The other thing that happened was that even after this whole investment happened and we were combining to this together, the beauty was that both of us, Ashish and me, we always invested and worked like an entrepreneur itself. And therefore, this gentleman, Dario, who was really impressed with us, and he actually told us to hold on till the IPO. I will accelerate IPO, and I want you to be part of the core team. Glad that IPO fast track happened because of multiple reasons, because India and Italian company both was doing about $100 million in revenue. We found a SPAC partner who helped us in accelerating from a 2-year cycle to a 6-month cycle. Because of this, I think all of this happened purely because of collaboration, also capitalizing what is your strength and what is your weakness. Company like India, which was doing 25-30 million, obviously can't go IPO, very hard, tough market. Company in Italy, difficult market, Italian market, European market. So these two entities, US got listed at the New York Stock Exchange. I was super happy to be part of that team going and ringing that bell. And I was looking at global revenue operations. So yeah, the trigger points was like fast acceleration, collaboration, exposure to global environment. After building for 7-8 years India market, you sometimes you pretty much start knowing everybody at the market itself. So
No,
now
no,
you wanted like newer challenges.
Yeah, so I think it was a journey, and now that you're building Fyno, right? Going to Fyno now, because I think you have had a run and now you wanted to restart. So what was your thought process? Like, you have seen everything from zero to actually thousand, right? Zero, not zero to one. It is like 0 to 1,000 or sort,
And
right?
yeah,
So like, what were you thinking when did it struck that I want to restart? And
so
is
look,
Ashish with you in this journey as well?
yeah. She is pretty much with me. I know him for now pretty much more than 20 years, college and startup, right? So both together 20 years. Both are together in this journey as well. Look, what happened was that post IPO, I spent 8 quarters with Kalera. I spent with them. Obviously, in that phase, we went through COVID phase. I honestly had no clue of what I'm going to do post entire acquisition. So I continued to work with them because I had nothing else as a plan. Ashish also had no plans. Both of us continued for about 8 quarters. Post 8 quarters, we decided to quit because by then it had become 600, 700 people organization. Global collaboration was happening. We had built a second line leadership team. Our team was pretty solid. They were able to run business on their own. Also, any acquirer who invests in the company, right, typically looks at ROI. We demonstrated that ROI more than the ROI, right? What the value that they gave the enterprise, we delivered that more. All that happened. Also, the bad part was that it became a slower organization. It became challenging to operate in that setup. From a mindset of an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is typically like the expectation is you listen to customers, what customer wants, you ensure the customer, you ensure the product delivers or engineering team delivers to customer. And that whole cycle, they became too many layers and became very, very long process, very, very corporate MNC culture, which we didn't like. So discontinued, took a break and started Fyno after 6 months. So in that 6 months of break, I was typically meeting a lot of founders, entrepreneurs. I was then contemplating on many ideas. I was thinking of crypto as an idea, to blockchain, all of those. Finally,
Nice.
I think at some point we realized that, hey, we should do what we should double down on things that we have known for 15, 20 years. Communication is what we understand, and customer communication is what we know. For 15 years, we built, let's do work on customer communication. So we came up with this layer, and again, this whole learning was from my previous startup, Kalera. A lot of that, because 15 years of journey, I saw customers integrating with customer, getting customer live to our product was like 6 to 8 months of effort. And what happened in the last few years, that channels exploded massively. So there was only SMS, email channel, but WhatsApp came as RCS has come. There was MI push. There was like multiple app notification, in-app notification. So too many channels and too many players in that market operating. And all of them operate APIs. And the problem was that it looked a very complicated system. And most of the companies would have looked for a solution, but don't have found a solution. Eventually, started building something internally on their own. And therefore, when we had initial conversation, realized that this is a very painful process. And that's how Fyno sort of started with a product saying, why can't we be a layer on top, which can give outcomes such as like centralized logs, customer logs, centralized system to manage customer notification, connect to all channels, all providers, build an orchestration capability instead of bombarding the users on all the platform. How can they smartly communicate, save cost? If they're spending $100 today, how can I bring it down to $80?
Makes sense, yeah.
So that's how genesis of Fyno sort of started with. I think the genesis was like, hey, how can we unify into one single API? Very, very initial idea was, and now it is like, we have obviously added 10x, 20x features right now. So Fyno is basically a customer notification middleware that helps like banking, financial services, logistics, and supply chain companies to manage their customer notification in one single box.
Makes sense. I think, yeah, you rightly said you have doubled down on what you did know, and now you have actually focused on few industries. So like, is it intentional? Yeah, verticals actually, right? So was it intentional or like it happened while you were in your journey?
No, it actually happened. So see, that's what people say. Experience will teach you, but I've had, experience will. You also, while having experience, you also end up doing mistakes and you learn from that mistake. So even after my second startup, I'm doing mistakes and I'm learning, which is perfectly fine, right? So when we started Fyno, 2.5 years ago, first 8 months, 9 months, we went very horizontally, which means we were talking to everybody, every size and shape of customers, early stage, late stage, mid market, fintech, banking, e-commerce. What happened was that we gathered a lot of information through that. That opened up a lot of conversation, pain points. When we started our journey, our probably pain points were only 2 or 3. But when I started talking to customers and figured out that pain points were actually 10, 20. And then we figured out that customers who really value the product, which can like good to have versus must have, that composition, a lot of that sort of filtered out for us over the last 2.5 years. So we went horizontal, realized that we had to cut the noise. Like a lot of them were like saying good because the product looks really good and they were giving all these very superficial feedback. But eventually as a founder and as a team had to like refine who's valuing the product more, who's more serious, commit to trying this product out. And finally realized that very, very organically, like we started cutting out categories and industries and realized that the customer segment is very important, and the paying customer segment ability to pay is only these 2-3 categories, which is banking and financial services and logistics. On top of that, also, we also had to reach out to right persona. So we talked to like a lot of product managers, engineering managers. We don't talk to like marketeers, growth. In the beginning, we were talking to anybody at organization. Our ICP had to refine. Most of them will still from day one start your perfect ICP, and it's never possible, I feel, because unless you don't talk and get some clarity, you don't know what to avoid. So you go horizontal, you try, and you then keep eliminating the ones that
Makes
are not
sense.
relevant, and then the focus comes in. So I think to your question, the journey happened very organically. It took us good 1.5, 2 years to refine our category of customers that we want to serve, and also mid-market and enterprise is our focus. So thorough diligence we do before we talk to a customer today. That's been the journey. Yeah, learning, I would say, from my previous company was a horizontal play. Like I would sell everybody and everybody. But in this is more focused approach, different, going more vertical SaaS approach.
Makes sense. I think it's a fair point. Even though like you have built big companies, every day is a learning, right? So
Learning, yeah.
I think you rightly said and
So,
rightly pointed out. And when you are a early stage founder, or like now you are a mid stage, right? So I think
yeah,
mistakes are very different. So
yeah.
one more question I have though on Fyno is, or like your selling stack majorly, like is it India now or it's global overall?
No. So, um, look, I'll be honest, Ashutosh. Look, so India is something that it's close to me, right? I have built business for 13, 14 years, right? I know I've built connection network. Obviously, there's some bit of success that Kalera has. And therefore, I was able, I think when we started out, you know, when you start out as an entrepreneur and you need to like get things moving. Imagine you're starting up and saying, no, first let me build the product, then I'll talk to the customer. Then, like it's a very, you're an entrepreneur. So you're like, nee, let me get feedback at least. Let me talk to them.
Yep.
So glad that India became our first sort of approach we took in the beginning, initially. The reason was it was easy to knock their doors and get them on a call to talk to us. Very easy, a little easier it was. Post that, in the last year and a half, last 6, 8 months, we have been actually focusing on the different markets. So
Next.
early this year, we went to like Middle East as a market, tried that market. So we're experimenting. I'm saying our product is very hard. Our product is global, but it's vertical for banking and financial service. And we're trying different markets. Right now, our big focus is obviously India. We have got a good visibility. We have tapped into many, many customers. We are now looking into Middle East and US as a market, because what we have seen is that India and US, the banking ecosystem is only 20-30x difference. For example, if
Got it.
India has 1,000 banks, let's say altogether banks and local banks and smaller banks, cooperative banks, US is like probably 20x bigger than that. So approaches that those markets. So we are going very vertical and global product. We're trying in 2 different markets. India is a market which will have some limited effort, but our major effort will be in US. Right?
Yeah, you might beat me up with this question, but did you raise capital for Fyno?
So, yeah, we've raised, honestly, we have raised money. We raised from 2 funds. There have been 2 investors who are backing us, 314 and Outcome. But we have not announced it publicly. The reason is we have not announced it is we didn't feel it's relevant.
We'll
Nobody
cut
knows
this.
us.
No. Thank you so much for telling that actually. So I was curious in a way that, okay, are you
Nee,
putting your own money or
nee,
like this time you're,
No, okay, I put my own money as well. Honestly, I put
yeah,
my personal money in this. Obviously, when I started off, I put my personal money. Uh, Look, also, like, I think, Ashutosh, the first time I built the company, I was paying like very less. Salaries was very low. I was like squeezing my employees. All
yeah,
of them were right. I didn't have money to pay. This time I realized that, yeah, let's uh, let's not compromise on the quality and all of that. Look,
yeah, makes
the get
sense.
go, have offers, have people, have like, we
And we
also
should
wanted
also
like a
taste the different journey as well, right? You
journeys
should have
as
a
well,
taste.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, like you said, yeah, taste. I mean, we are, and glad that 2 investors backing us, that they believed in the idea, and it was pretty fast that happened with us, right? So, and then we said, and when a lot of people say, don't say no to money. So we said, okay, chalo, let's take the money and build business. And at least that way, the focus relies on building the core business and not thinking
Yeah,
about money all the
makes
time.
sense.
Because again, even if I put my personal money, obviously at some point I'll start questioning how long should I invest, what budget should I have, and all of that. And then obviously compromise, cut corners in quality and all that. With money, access to money, I was able to like build a we've built a very solid product. We've built a product which today has 50 customers using the product, 5 customers, and
Nice.
we've already like clocking in 1.2 billion communications over the last year, 2024 itself. We've already processed that. So,
Grand scale.
so chal raha hai.
Very nice, very nice. Interesting. So I'll now go to the last part of my conversation, which was I
Yes.
was very curious to know actually. So when did you start running? When did this passion actually arose in you and basically you started focusing on that
So,
you want to run?
हाँ तो यार देखो, if you want to start running this passion to inculcate, you should get married. शादी कर लो, passion आ जाएगा. So for me, marriage happened. I think I
Yeah.
got obviously I met my wife, and she was a very she's into fitness, not now. She's been doing from like 22 decades. Almost more than 50% of her life she's been into fitness, and that's been non-negotiable for her. So I had no choice
But to
to
run.
just to run, right? And yeah, so that's how I 8 years ago got into it. But I'm glad that something like this happened to me. Otherwise, on my own would have been very difficult, extremely difficult, because we all of us like this gang, and you and me, I can tell you, we go to gym for a month and then 15 days, and then
Yeah.
we'll pay membership for a year and we'll not like go for the
Go.
show 15 days, right? I've gone through all that phases in
Absolutely.
the beginning. In all my early 20s, did all of that. Finally found, I think running is something that I also started enjoying in general. First year was difficult. Second year was a little difficult, but got better. I started enjoying my running. Also, yeah, you get a point to talk about something else in life. Otherwise, your founder, you only talk about business,
Business.
entrepreneurship,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
ye
I
problem,
think
who
you're
are your customer, ICP. So,
very valid point. Very valid point.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think this is a way better answer.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
you should have multiple topics to talk about actually.
Thought
I
about,
think
yeah,
yeah.
and you can only talk about when some of those topics you experience yourself, right? So
Mm,
running was something that I've done it for 7-8 years. I've been doing. I did multiple half and 10Ks, and then 3 full marathons I've done. I'm
awesome.
I'm more committed. Next year, I want to do like the Ironman, half Ironman in Goa. So I want to up my
I'll
game
come
now
and
into
cheer you up
fitness.
there.
Yeah, please come. Yeah. So it's a good thing that happened. And finally, like, I started 8 years back, and when I
Uh,
was celebrating my run of 8K, 10K, and like a lot of people, like, they were all amazed and shocked. But thanks to now the ecosystem, if you see the whole content ecosystem is talking about like fitness, talking
yeah.
about taking care of yourself, taking care of food, health choices that you make, fitness choices that you make today is it's like it's all prioritized now. It's,
Yep.
you have to invest an hour a day into your fitness. So both, by the way, me and Ashish, both in our company today, invest a lot of time in fitness. Personally, we also encourage our employees. We don't provide junk food. We don't provide samosa, kachori in our office. We don't provide
Nice.
pizzas. We provide fruits. We provide vegetable salads in our office. Something that and also like we carry our own lunch boxes. So we inculcate that culture. We don't force people to bring their own lunches. But finally, just because me and Ashif bring our own lunch, I've seen like there is like 90% of our work, 25 people, all of them bring their own dabbas. Pretty much 90%. Maybe 1 or 2 people can't bring for various reasons. But so this is something that we have. And also, I've realized that people look up to each other. Like, sundry founders, they look up if they're working, oh, I'm bringing like dabba, let me also carry this box. Some of these culture really help to have a positive environment, ensuring that we have lunch on time. We don't like say 1:30, we like on time. So all those like little things that like people like it.
Yeah. I think
And
little things matter actually. You're right. These
yeah,
little
small
things help you build a big culture
build
overall.
culture over. And glad that we're building when we are 25, because I'll tell you, Ashutosh, in my previous company, when I became a runner and I was encouraging everybody, they were all saying, "You're mad. Why are you running? It is bad for your knee." Like, that is the environment that when I was encouraging my employees to like join
Run.
running, get into fitness. In fact, I was incentivizing them with smart device, like giving them a smart watch, saying if you finish a 10K, I'll give you a smart watch. But
Awesome.
very little, that the needle moved very little. Like
No, I
finally
was
in
seeing
this,
your LinkedIn profile, by the way. LinkedIn or was it WhatsApp? I don't remember, by the way. But I saw a lot of pictures of you and your team running together.
yeah,
I think
we
I saw
posted
Rohit
those.
there and
Yes,
few other
yeah.
folks. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them. I think we've been participating in some of these activities for sure. We enjoy it. We do it.
No, absolutely. So, Aniket, it was an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank,
Awesome conversation, very
thank you.
insightful, and you being
Thank
so
you.
candid. Your journey of bootstrapping Solution Symphony, scaling Kalera, and now building Fyno,
Wow.
incredibly inspiring, literally.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
before we wrap, is there anything you would like to say to our listeners, and how can they basically contact you, talk to you, or any tips or things?
Okay, so I think you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much accessible. I'm approachable. Then I respond. I don't respond to generic hello messages, but if it's something very, very contextual, similar what I do with my personal interest, I will respond to them. Um,
That
yeah,
I
generally advice
that I can bet because I have connected you through LinkedIn. So
through
yeah.
LinkedIn. Exactly, right? You had to, I'm sure it was not a generic one that you sent, and I was actually
Yeah,
impressed with the text that you sent, and that's why I responded to you. And glad that happened. People, if they, I would advise people to invest little time to talk to anybody, any mentor, guy that you look up to and you want to reach out. The only way is that it has to be very powerful. It has to be simple text, but making an impactful for other person to respond. The other advice is like, yeah, go build, keep building stuff, hustle, enjoy this entrepreneurship journey till its last and keep building. I think that's the only way I can tell you that keep having fun, but keep also fitness in mind. Most of entrepreneurs, founders don't invest in their health and fitness. I would recommend everybody to like put some time in your personal uh, fitness and health. Invest time and stay at least a little bit, give at least an hour a day for this. Very important. Don't skip your meal, don't do all of that because, you start deteriorating and you don't operate very well post if you go through a bad cycle, right? So for founders to do a long-term business, you need to build your body and health long-term. So
absolutely. I think this was a great advice.
thanks, Ashish.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Hope you like it.
Yeah,
Do
see
comment
you
in the
guys.
comment section if you have any questions for Aniket. I'll get them going and we'll get the answers for you. Thank you.
Yeah. Late night dreams on the revenue ramp. Talking cash flow and sales stamps. Got Revrag